What's up guys, Pete here from the Sunday Drive. Today we have a really cool episode and it's going to be a little bit of a series that we're shooting. On my right we have a 2017 C7 Corvette 7-speed manual, and on my left we have a Porsche 911, also base, also manual, and this is my buddy's car. He is owner of a Speed Circuit. What we're going to be doing is seeing how these cars perform against each other, modifying them a little bit, and yeah, letting you guys just kind of see a direct comparison of the two cars, so stay tuned. So if you're not new to the channel, you may already know that I've had this 2017 Corvette since 2017. It's my first brand new car ever, and if you go watch Dino's video, he's gonna mention that he peer pressured me into buying it, which is true. I was fully set on not buying a car that day, but I'm very happy that he did, and he even peer pressured me into getting the blue one because I wanted gray. Regardless, I've had it since 2017, and I have done zero modifications to it other than some mud flaps and oil catch can and very minor things, but no performance modifications. So it kind of worked out because a few years later in 2019, Dino from Speed Circuit got this 2017 Porsche 911. And lo and behold, they are both the most basic version of the car that you can get. Not only that, but they're both manual. So while I'm coming up with a path to figure out how to modify my car, and I don't know if I want to go with a cam or a supercharger or both, there's a lot of options. Why don't we figure out how they perform against each other? So there's going to be a lot of going back and forth, at least that's the goal, until he gets the bigger turbos, and then I need to really step it up and figure out what I want to do with my car. And my life. Thanks, cameraman. Existential crises on camera.
So we're going to be producing two versions of each of these videos in the series, one from my perspective at Speed Circuit.
And the other is going to be from our perspective on the Sunday Drive.
So I feel like the first thing we need to really talk about is the specs. I know my car is a little lighter than yours, about 100 pounds. My car weighs 3217. I know that specifically because I weighed it on our corner scales before. And what do you think your car weighs?
So if you Google it, you'll get about between 32 and 3,300 pounds. And obviously trim models and different versions of the car make it way more. But I have the cheapest Vette that you could buy. So it doesn't even have heated seats or anything.
The poor Vette.
The poor Vette.
And I have a Porsche. So we're even. It's a good head-to-head.
And that's really why this is so perfect. They're both 7-speed manuals. They both have very tall gearing, although mine might be slightly taller. And they both are the lightest configurations that you can get. As far as weight goes, I think mine comes in around 7.3 pounds per horsepower. And
mine is about 8.7 pounds per horsepower. So I make, from the factory, 370 horsepower, and you're at 460. I'm about 100 pounds lighter, but really it should be no contest from the factory. He should walk away from me.
But this has a secret weapon up its sleeve. It's got turbos and a nice way to tune them on the fly. So you can turn up the boost, get way more power. I don't know exactly how much power he's going to get when he tunes it.
No one knows.
It should spice it up a little bit. I'm assuming I'll still win.
You're not gonna win. If I put a tune on this, a Speed Circuit tune? Come on.
I don't know, man.
Come on.
It's the driver, you know? No,
oh, here we go.
I'm just kidding.
Here we go.
But realistically, if it's 50 to 60 horsepower, it's gotta be close. If it's more than that, I'm probably gonna end up losing, which I really don't wanna lose, because that means I need to spend more money.
What do you think is gonna happen? Is he gonna win or lose?
So we're at an abandoned runway. I think we're gonna do a 40 roll. I don't think we're gonna race from a dig. There is a whole shipment of C8 Corvettes being delivered over to that dealership.
All right, let's give it a shot. We'll go from a 40 roll until like 90.
Okay. right, so as we can see, stock for stock, the C7 takes care of the 911, easy peasy, but things did change pretty drastically once Dino flashed a tune on his car. In fact, he gained a dramatic amount of horsepower and torque, which is the beautiful thing about having turbos, and one of the reasons that I kind of wish I had forced induction on my engine already, as much as I do love a naturally aspirated motor. Although one thing I did notice is that while some races he would pull away like a dog that just got off its leash and was not going to get caught, other races I was actually able to keep up pretty well, including this race right here, where I honestly thought that I might have been able to win at some point, or he wasn't going to pull away more than a half of car length. So maybe that comes down to driver error on either one of our parts, or maybe the cars are really just closer than we realize. And that's where I need to start thinking about modifications. Right off the bat, I'm thinking about a better flowing intake filter, which I actually have, I just haven't installed yet. It was a blue filter. And then I could put headers onto the car, while probably even keeping the rest of the exhaust the same. And to account for those modifications, I'm going to need to tune the car, but I'm also going to want to try and squeeze a couple of degrees of timing out of the vehicle and tune it for 93 octane. I'm thinking that since 93 isn't available everywhere, the car can run on 91 no problem, so that might give me a little bit of headroom, plus most cars are tuned conservatively. I have read quite a bit saying that the LT1s don't like to have their timing advanced too much more than they come from the factory, but I think that there is some power to be had there. Now to do that, I picked up this MVPI2, and this will allow me to use HP tuners to flash the car and adjust for the bolt-ons and the fuel. And if that for some reason doesn't get me enough, I could also easily add flex fuel to my car and then run E85 and tune for that. Now, if I start dabbling with E85, then that means it opens the door for Dino to start dabbling with E85, and he's going to get way more of a benefit of using ethanol than I will, so I have to see if that's a can of worms that I want to open at this time. So realistically, I would love to slap on a supercharger, and we've been talking to a couple of companies to figure out a route for that, but before I get to that point, I need to delete the AFM or DOD system on my vehicle, and if you don't know, AFM stands for Active Fuel Management, and DOD stands for Displacement on Demand, and those terms are synonymous, but ultimately it means that the car can go into 4-cylinder mode from its normal V8 cylinder mode, and it's been known to cause a lot of issues with GM motors. In fact, we have an entire series of how to delete that on Cliff's 2014 Silverado, and it has gained a lot of traction because there have been so many Silverado users who have suffered from this problem. So in order to delete that, you would have to replace the camshaft, you would replace the collapsible lifters that are part of the DOD system, and while you're in there, you could replace some of the valve train with new springs, and that would allow you to get a couple of revs out of the motor. So step one in my head is I'm thinking intake filter and headers, and I don't plan on actually changing the entire intake because I don't feel like tuning for a different diameter intake tube. And then what I could do is the DOD delete, and then after the DOD delete, when my motor is sound and sturdy, I can slap on a nice supercharger and then go for big power. The other route I could do is just stay totally naturally aspirated, and while doing the DOD delete, put a big aggressive cam in there, maybe a stage 3 or stage 4 from someone like GPI, and that would probably reduce drivability some bit, but it would get me maybe another 100 horsepower or 150 horsepower on a naturally aspirated engine, which to me would be really fun. I think the idea of a 550 horsepower naturally aspirated C7 sounds like the perfect track car. You won't have overheating problems of a supercharger, but I also think that 700 horsepower and something like a centrifugal supercharger sounds really fun as well. By the way, be sure to check out Speed Circuit's video because he's going to be offering a different perspective of this entire series. In fact, in his video, he goes a little bit into comparing the interiors of our two cars and some of the other nuances that we didn't get into in this video. And as the builds progress, you'll be able to see things from his perspective. He's a very talented and detail-oriented tuner and engine builder, so there's definitely a lot to learn from him. And if you found this video to be helpful and are excited for the rest of the series, please be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you here next time.